Morning, everybody. It's refreshing to come out of a coal mine and sit with old friends and chat on issues which are so dear to me. I don't think there are too many people from the health sector here, but I think it's time that people outside the health sector start talking about health to wake up some of those that need to get moving. My personal view is that there is a prescription available now in the country, and we will never have an occasion where we'll have a perfect prescription about what to do about healthcare. I have always felt that we have to get moving on what is on table and then improve as we go along. There could be a debate on whether the supply side management should be continued or we should focus on demand side management of healthcare. These debates will continue, and I don't think in any country they have been settled as yet. But the problem is that the action that seems to be, or that is required on the ground, doesn't seem to be happening. And unless we get down to business and get moving, we will never even learn whether a particular process or approach is right or wrong. So the need of the hour today, I think, is to get cracking on the prescription that we have at hand, and as we go along, start evolving. In a country of size of this size, I think there's scope for experimenting either way. It has been done in the past few years. The demand side management has been practiced to a certain extent. There could be some problems with that management, but it needs to be strengthened further wherever it is acceptable to people in the state. Supply side management cannot be done away with, again, in a country of this nature. We have to continue to pump money, a lot of money, into public healthcare system where certain aspects cannot be taken care of through supply side management. Hence, no one can deny the fact that preventive care and primary care are the areas where supply side management will continue to play a very, very important role. In secondary care, I would believe, and more so in tertiary care, probably demand side management could play a very important role as well. So what the need of the hour is to see how we could look at, Nishant in his presentations was mentioning about funding of various health schemes, and I was looking at some of the figures very recently. It seems to have gone up a bit to about 1.4 or 1.5% from 1% of GDP. To me, that is not very material, whether the expenditure is 1 or 2%. I have understood in government functioning that if the idea is good and the scheme is good, there is no dearth of money. And I recall in RSBY we faced this problem in the first 2 years. Third year onwards, the Joint Secretary of Finance Ministry used to ring me up one day before the budget and ask me, how much do you want? So despite the paucity of funds elsewhere, if the idea is good and people are prepared and it is, you can sell that idea, there is money to back it both in the public and the private sector. Even the private sector would back an idea that is good. The key here is how do we articulate that idea? How do we implement that idea? How do we get people on board with regarding that idea? And these are activities that need to be done. I mean, as I understand, a lot of groundwork has been done with regard to universal health assurance. But there is a concern that why isn't moving on the ground? And the sooner it moves, the better it is. There is still a debate going on, in my understanding, as to what should be the actual structure of universal health insurance. But if I were to look at it, I would split it into parts. There are certain parts in which there is no difference of opinion. At least that part can get moving. The rest of it we can continue to debate. So that this is one part which I thought is very essential when we look ahead with regard to healthcare in this country. The other part which always I find fascinating wherever I have worked is the use of ICT in healthcare. And right from end to end, in every dimension of healthcare, I think ICT has an amazing, amazing role to play. Again, unfortunately, no one has looked at it through the chain. There is no structure that actually commits itself to encouraging use of ICT application. There have been sporadic efforts in a particular part of the value chain that, okay, here, this should be either digitized or ICT applications could be used. To my mind, if a group in the government could look into the entire value chain, there was no file. Everything was on the web. everything digitized. No letters issued. Now, to my mind, if someone sits down and looks at the entire health continuum, I think the whole health continuum can be digitized. You don't actually require papers. Though, of course, that's a dream for anyone to happen. But you can go step by step and start using ICT applications. How convenient it would become in terms of identification, in terms of enrollment, in terms of diagnosis, in terms of keeping this data, in terms of transmission of this data. I mean, it's crazy that even in some of the most sophisticated private sector hospitals, when you go to one place to the other, there is no central data system which a doctor can access and see. So he still goes through those papers and writes those papers. How much drudgery can be done away with? But all said and done, whereas theoretically and technologically all this is possible, until is the attitude of the doctors or they are facilitated to use these ICT applications, it won't change. Some is changing. Because for any idea to be really sustained over a period of time in a country, again, of this size and nature, we have to look at the 4 aspects of the idea that we have, that whether that particular idea is politically acceptable. We all live in democracies. So sometimes we have brilliant ideas, but they are not politically acceptable. Then it should be technologically feasible. Obviously, if it's not, then ICT application don't come into play. It has to be socially desirable. I mean, the stakeholders should buy into it. There should be a sufficient reason for doing what we are doing. And all said and done, finally, it has to be financially viable. So we have, again, brilliant ideas which are so costly that you can't implement them. In the health domain, I don't think any of these is a problem. There is, as of now, I can tell you, I have been part of some of the discussions at the highest level on healthcare. I have no business to be there, but I was invited in a couple of discussions because of whatever little we did in RSPY. And there is a total commitment in terms of doing something on the ground. I have not seen that level of commitment in other governments. They were committed, but not to the extent that they are. The Prime Minister himself is totally committed to this whole aspect of universal health assurance. In fact, the phrase was coined by him, and he wants it going. So there is this commitment, political commitment. No one can dispute the social desirability of what is being asked. Technology is not an issue at all, to my mind. Technology does exist. And financial viability, to my mind, it would be much better off than looking at it in an integrated manner than, looking at it in parts. So I think all these four factors are there. What is missing is action on the ground. Someone has to take the bull by the horns and get moving. That doesn't seem to be happening at a pace at which the Prime Minister would want. So that seems to be missing, and I don't know how it can happen, because, as I said, I have gone underground mining coal. When someone asked me, how are you feeling? I said, Sar mudate koile pade. So it's tough there. It's probably the most challenging assignment that I've come across in my life. It's really tough, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's an amazing oxymoron, that it's hugely tough, but I'm hugely enjoying it. It's a challenge that I'm relishing. I would believe that even in the health domain, it's high time that we got cracking, and there are people around. In fact, there are more than necessary people around to advise. There are too many Rai Sahibs going around with their advices, and people don't really know. But since by and large the prescription, I understand, is there, I think it's high time we get cracking and got moving on the ground. And as Nishant mentioned in his presentation, we have to have a very strong institutional framework to sustain the pressure that is coming from the topmost. I can tell you, it's amazing. The desire, the commitment is amazing at the highest level in terms of doing something on the ground. And now it is not possible at that level to see that everything happens at the same pace. I think it is incumbent on us or people who are involved in actually executing on the ground to get cracking, because I don't think there will be any dearth of any support coming from the highest level for doing what he wants us to do on the ground. I hope and pray that we do get cracking on the ground in terms of healthcare. I also hope that, though there aren't very many people sitting here, but there are very important, very learned people sitting here who can, for whatever it is worth, work out not so much what needs to be done, how it is to be done. That, to my mind, is most important. what part is by and large answered. And we can continue, as I said in the beginning, we can continue to debate the what part. What really needs to be now hammered at various levels, in whichever manner, in your own small way, what needs to be hammered. And that's the reason why I've come here. The parliament is on, my bill is getting introduced just now. There's a cabinet meeting in the afternoon, very critical decision to be taken on coal. But I thought Singh has been very kind in the past, and I feel inspired by his effort. So I thought I should go there and spend some time. I won't be here for very long, where I have to rush back. But thank you very much for inviting me. More than that, it's a pleasure meeting some old friends here, which I have not been able to meet because of my preoccupation under the mine. Thank you very much.